only Thursday, but because of the massive time change between the East Coast of the United States of America and Australia, it's Friday over in Australia, and practice one has happened. I just finished watching it. I have some notes. We're going to go through the practice, and we're also going to go through my predictions for the Australia Grand Prix. Now, I wrote the predictions before practice happened, and I'm going to stick to them. I could not get this out yesterday. I have another podcast I do with some friends on Wednesday. That's kind of our only day we do it. So we're going to start there, go through some of the predictions I have. If I had watched practice one before I made the predictions, they would be very different. So I'm going to kind of wrap up a couple things that happened in practice and go through my predictions for the race. Now, when I do predictions in general, I'm just going to give my podium, and then I like to do something for that I will be doing for at least IndyCar and F1. It's a little hard to do for rally car, but first to last and last to first, where I think people will who will progress the most throughout the race from their original starting position and who will drop the most. Normally that's going to count for a DNF. And then just some other predictions I have, two big predictions, even though as of what's coming out right now, looks like one of them might not be that big or that shocking of a prediction. And then talk a little bit about free practice one. I do not plan on fully doing this for all the free practices. It's a little hard to do one right after the other. The next one's coming up at midnight. I hope to get this out before the next one happens so I can go watch that one and then go to bed. Qualifying as well, I might hop on and talk about qualifying a bit. But yeah, so let's get into it. I'm going to start with my podium predictions for the Australian Grand Prix. And in third place, I have Charles Leclerc. I think Ferrari looks good. I think Ferrari has pace. I thought this before I watched free practice one. But I'm kind of expecting three different constructors on the podium. And I have more faith in Charles right now than I do Lewis. I expect Lewis to do better than he did last season. Charles has done pretty well at Australia as a whole. The last couple of years, there's been bad decision calls. We've got the famous must be water. There's water everywhere. Must be the water. There's no chance for rain. I think Charles can get there on pure pace. And my idea behind putting him there, like I said, I believe there will be three different constructors on the podium. And I just think Lewis almost still looks like he's taking time to settle into Ferrari. I expect Lewis to be stronger during the second half of the season, especially if we maybe get a retirement announcement or not. But either way, I'm excited. I think Ferrari is a true contender this year, and I'm excited to see what Charles and Lewis can do. That's why I have them at number 3. Who I think will finish second is Max Verstappen. Again, I kind of think Red Bull very much possibly, when I made these predictions, mind you, that Red Bull was very much possibly the second best team, almost in a fight with Ferrari for that. It's hard to bet against Max in any regard, especially when I'm comparing Max and Charles. I mean, look back at the 2022 season, and he's Max Verstappen. Like that, I think that's the most justification for this prediction is the fact that he is Max Verstappen. The Red Bull looks good. He's taking corners very well with testing. I'm not sure if it's fully there yet. Again, another car that I think will fully develop throughout it and like towards the end of the season and throughout these regulations. And Isaac has a little bit of a tumultuous history with this track. I expect him to do very well. honestly, I think fourth, like if I was predicting a fourth, it might be Isaac, but I think there's a little bit of pain with this track still from how he started last season off at the start of the year. And he's been promoted. There's even if Horner and Marco are out at Red Bull, there's still a lot of pressure on Isaac. This is what he's dreamed of. He was kind of the forgotten rookie at the beginning of last year. It was like throw someone in the V car, and now he's racing alongside Max Verstappen with a chance to beat his idol in Lewis in a real race. So I do think there's a bit of pressure on him. He's showed that he's very calm and collected under pressure. But again, you can't bet against Max Verstappen. He's the best driver there is currently in the sport. I mean, the car might not always be there, but overall, he is the best driver. And so, with that all being said, my number one prediction for who will win the Australian Grand Prix is George Russell. I made this before I watched free practice. What can I say? The hype around the Mercedes power unit is still in my head. I might have to dispel that a bit, but it is very much still in my head. George, I do believe, is their number one. I don't think he's got a number one potential for the next 5 years. Eventually, I think Toto will pass it on to Kimi and kick George out, but this is George's year. This is George's year, and he's been confident at Australia. It's a track that it's not his favorite, I don't think, but I think he's confident there. He's raced around enough times. And when I wrote this, I fully predicted that, we're talking possibly 10 seconds on max, if I had to guess. I think he needs that start to build confidence as well. And I think Mercedes is willing to throw things behind him, especially at the beginning of the season. Really kind of make him the number one driver. My next prediction is, like I said, something that I like to call first to last, who will, after qualifying, start very high up the grid and who will drop. And my prediction for this person, unfortunately, as much of a fan of this person that I am, is Oscar Piastri. I think Oscar will do well. I think he'll qualify well. I think McLaren objectively built a good enough car. The biggest problem I have with this is it's the Australian Grand Prix. And Australians have awful luck at the Australian Grand Prix. That is truly what it is. It has nothing to do with Oscar himself. It has nothing to do with Oscar as a driver. It is solely that I see this man DNFing because of some crazy circumstance. Someone might plow into him on the side. He's going to qualify fifth. Someone's going to take the jump and just boom. I just think this man's going to have, unfortunately, terrible luck in Australia. I hate to see it. I hope that every driver wins their home race, honestly. I really do. It would be really awesome, and I know it means so much to them, but I think the Australian curse continues. I just see him not doing well. And I do think there's a bit of a question mark around McLaren. Reliability was already a little bit of a concern I had just because of the top four teams. They are the only one using a different engine that they did not manufacture. And as we've seen forever, those teams sometimes take a minute to get that step up. My pick for last to first, however, the driver that will gain the most ground during the race is Alex Albon. I know there's a lot of questions around Williams. What might happen with Williams? Did James Vowles completely lie to us about how good Williams is? Did he oversell? But I kind of think Williams will be that comfortable fifth team. There's always one. I guess for my actual predictions, I predicted them in the sixth spot. So I do think it might be a battle between them and Haas. But as a whole, I can see Alex not qualifying well, something going wrong, maybe. Maybe there's reliability issues. He's out in Q1, but he makes up that ground during the race. And I think that as a whole, I expect a lot of Williams points to come off strategy. And I also kind of expect the same thing as last year, where one driver has a good race. I'm betting, even though Carlos Sainz has won this race before, I'm betting that it will be Alex. And I can see him moving from like an out in Q1 position to the bottom half of the points for sure. Based on strategy, maybe based on the fact that he takes an alternative strategy compared to Carlos, who would qualify higher than him. Whatever it might be, I do predict that he will be the one who gains the most positions on Sunday's race. Now, for two big predictions that I have, and I think one of them might no longer be a big prediction from when I wrote this, but one is that Aston Martin car does not start the race. And by does not start, I mean they don't put it on track. It could be Lance, it could be Fernando. Obviously, we're hearing how they are not ready for it in any regard. I said I would get into the first practice that I watched earlier, but I do think that's a bit important because Lance meddled around for 3 laps. He could barely get the car going, pulled him in the garage. Fernando didn't even take laps. We've heard everything, how Fernando said that it's going to give you nerve damage. Like, he can't. Adrian Newey's expecting, I think he said 25 laps out of a car at most. I can see them not even putting one car on the track when it comes to Sunday. And if I had to bet, Lance seems to be a little bit more willing right now to try out the car. If Fernando's car is nowhere close to even being operable, I can see him dishing out. He's old enough. He doesn't need to deal with this crap. He fixed the car. I'll be there for China. I'm not betting that it will be Fernando, but I will. My bold prediction is that one car will not start the race. My other one that is a true bold prediction is points for Alpine. This will probably be the 10th spot in the race, though 1 point in the race. But, and again, if I had to bet, it will be Pierre Gasly. But I'm looking forward to seeing where Alpine is. Seeing what, as much as I despise the man, Flavio has done with the car. They basically gave up after Miami and said, we're working on next year's car, and that is it. And just to see where Alpine is as a whole, I guess I'm hopeful for them. I predict Gasly to have a good year, and I think he'll start strong with at least a point for Alpine. And so kind of moving towards what free practice 1 was that I got finished watching very recently. Let me pull up the timesheets here. So, top 3 from free practice 1. Charles Leclerc goes fastest, Lewis Hamilton behind him, Max Verstappen in 3rd, and I think this needs to be said too. Isaac Hadjar in 4th, Arvid Lindblad in 5th. Now, there wasn't a major crash. No one crashed. I guess the big takeaway, again, is that Aston did not put a car on the track, basically. Lance did outlaps and then pulled it into the pits. I think he did technically register 1 lap time, which put him at 21st. Fernando didn't even start. It was bad. Reliability as a whole, Arvid Lindblad's car did not. I think there was something with the shifter, he said. I don't fully remember what it was, but there was problems for him getting out of the pits to begin with. Alex Albon's hydraulics broke, which is so funny watching him help the marshal push the car back in. That's how you know he's a good man. Lando Norris, another one. There was problems with his gearbox. He fully bailed out, I think maybe 20 minutes into practice. And, I mean, they showed it on the TV. He's sitting there having a coffee. They're working on his car. Oscar also had reliability issues. His car kept going in and out. I believe think he said it was the throttle at one point. They called a yellow flag for him. So certain teams already having reliability issues, which kind of leads me to my point about McLaren, is for how good they've been the last 2 years, it is always a tough spot to be the team whose engine shows up in a box, right? And I do think that will kind of hamper them a bit at the beginning of the year. Obviously, overreaction is that Ferrari's back. Ferrari is back, baby. My wife's sitting on the couch so happy. She's like, I couldn't deal with it if Charles Leclerc wins this year. Which, it's an overreaction. We're going to overreact until the summer break, probably. But Ferrari going 1-2 is big. Is big, it is powerful, and it sets a statement. But more importantly, who's behind Ferrari? It's Red Bull. And it's their junior team using the same engine. It is Max, it is Isaac, and then it's Arvid. If I'm correct, Isaac was 0.3 seconds slower than Max. That's still great for Isaac. Max looked good. Max looked himself. He looked calm and collected. But more importantly, I was kind of banking on Hamilton still having a little bit of troubles. I don't like to see it. I don't like when any driver does bad, really. I mean, I like all of them for the most part. I have some problems with some people's fans, but as a whole, I thought it would still take a minute for Lewis to catch up, and it clearly hasn't. But at the same time, Charles went faster than him. So that kind of prediction of Charles still being the golden boy is there. And Charles was looking good the entire time. Moving on to Oscar Piastri, he finished in sixth, I do believe. And he had some trouble. I believe it was the throttle. I'm probably wrong if I'm being honest. I probably forgot in the short time. But had some trouble with the throttle. He went sixth. He did have the fastest sector 1, I do believe. Tire degradation might be a thing with McLaren. You would be watching him and Norris when Norris was running, going around, and like their sector 3s were not good. We will keep an eye on that. But more importantly, everyone's pick for the year, including mine, I said George Russell is going to win. Mercedes 7th and 8th. George beats out Kimi. Kind of a predictable outcome, I think, as a whole. But for the most part, no one was expecting this. I believed in Ferrari. There was hype around the Ferrari train. I thought Ferrari, I thought Ferrari and Red Bull would be fighting each other for second or third, maybe third or fourth. If I recall correctly, I said Mercedes is going to be so good. So I will eat those words so quickly. Ferrari and Red Bull might have cooked. Ferrari specifically, because if you also look at where Haas finished, they're using the same engine. They look like they finished well. Ollie and Ocon look well. They look like they're going to possibly be the 5th team. Cadillac as a whole, it's just nice seeing Checo and Valtteri back on the racetrack. But Haas has had a Ferrari engine for 10 years now. I think that they will be able to really be a dictator for where the Ferrari engine is at, just like Racing Bulls, V-Carb, will be a dictator for where the Ford engine is at, how the back of the Red Bulls. And Lindblad going 5th is a big indicator that they did well. And Ollie and Ocon, I believe they finished in the top 10, is also a good indicator that Ferrari cooked. Oscar Piastri being 6th with car troubles almost makes you question if all the hype around Mercedes was fake, which it could have been. It might have well be. But I'm very excited. We'll finally figure it out on really Saturday with the qualifying. But as a whole, this Sunday, I'm very excited to see where everything goes. Well, that's just my quick analysis, my predictions. I'm getting ready to gear up for pre-practice too. Thank you so much for listening. If you could subscribe wherever you're listening. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble. Cannot get into Apple Podcasts for some weird reason. But other than that, thank you so much and good night.